In this session, let's understand data references. Data references are another way using which you can make your programs dynamic. They are a bit different from field symbols that we discussed in the previous session. When you define a field symbol and assign a data object to a field symbol, the field symbol points to that data object. So if you change the field symbol, then the contents of that data object that is assigned to this field symbol will be changed. Whereas with data references, when you assign a data object to a data reference, it simply gets you the address of the memory of that data object. So it won't be pointing to that data object directly, but simply you can get the address of that data object into your data reference, and then you can modify the value. So we'll see that in this session we'll talk about how you define these data references and how you can get a reference to an existing memory using these data references. And what makes them interesting is they support something called anonymous data objects. So using these anonymous data objects, we can assign the data type in the runtime. So I'll show you one example. We'll create one program and see how we can use these anonymous data objects to make our program completely dynamic. Okay. So to start with, similar to your object references, when you define an object, you say type reference to and refer it to a class, then your object will have reference to that class. Similarly, when you're defining these data references, you say data and give the name for your data reference, let's say dref, and then you say type reference to, and you can specify the data type. So for example, I'll specify it as matnar. Now let's assume we have one data object, vmatnar type matnar, and it has some value. Then once you define this data reference, I can get the reference to this data object vmatnar. I can get the memory address of this vmatnar by using a statement get reference of vmatnar into dref. What this will do is it will get the memory address of this vmatnar into my data reference variable. However, it doesn't get the contents. Like in field symbols, when I say assign vmatnar to my field symbol, it directly points to that data object, so you can directly change the field symbol. Whereas here, it will only get you the reference. To access the contents of that memory, we have to dereference it using this dereference selector. Let's say dref, you have to say star. So this hyphen greater than symbol star, this will dereference it. So if I say this equals to 200 now, then the contents of vmatnar will be changed to 200. So let's see this in debug mode. I'll say write dref star, and if I keep a breakpoint here, so here if you see vmatnar is having this value 100, and if I say dref, it is initial. It is not having any memory address at this point. It is initial. When I execute this get reference statement, then the reference of this vmatnar will be stored in this dref variable. So it will copy the memory address of this data object into my reference variable. So if I execute this now, here if you see, it is showing the contents because the debugger is automatically trying to dereference it. If I don't dereference, if I simply say dref, here if you see, it is actually storing the memory address of that data object, not the contents. If I want to access the contents, I have to dereference it using this hyphen greater than and star. Then it will point to the contents of that memory. Okay. So here the debugger is automatically trying to dereference it and showing the value. Then I'm changing it to 200, and it is at this point vmatnar is also changed to 200. So I change the reference variable to 200 and vMatnar is also changed to 200 because this reference variable is simply pointing to the memory of this vMatnar or the memory of the data object that is assigned to this dref. Okay, the basic difference between field symbols and reference variables is field symbol directly points to the memory, whereas with data references you only get the reference to the memory of the data object. So you basically get the memory address of the data object. Okay, now when we are using these data references like this, where I know statically that this is a matnar field and I'm typing it statically while defining it, then nothing exciting, right? You already know statically that this is a matnar field and I'm processing it as a matnar field. So they don't sound any different from field symbols. It's just that you are doing a couple of steps extra. Instead of doing it this way, I would rather use a field symbol, because anyway, once I get the reference to that memory address, I'm dereferencing it to access the memory. But they get more exciting when we deal with these anonymous data objects. So before I talk about anonymous data objects, these are the things you need to remember. You define a data reference using this type reference to and give the data type if you already know statically. And then to get a reference of the existing data object, you use this syntax get reference of your data object name into your reference variable. And then you can access the contents by dereferencing it using this dereference selector. And you can assign a field, you can assign a structure, you can assign a internal table. So you can get a reference of your internal table, structured field, or a field symbol that is assigned, or even a dereferenced data reference also. For example, I can define another reference variable and get a reference to this dereference variable also. So you can get reference to any of those things. But if you already know statically, then you may as well use field symbols, so that they are no different from field symbols. But with data references, we can dynamically determine the type and accordingly handle the logic by using this anonymous data object. So while design time, you don't have to know the data type, but in the runtime, you can dynamically make it any type. Okay, you can make it a structure, you can make it an internal table, whichever type you want. So to demonstrate that, I'll show you one example. We'll create one basic program where you can give any database table name in ABAP dictionary, and I'll pull out data from that table and show it to you. So one program I'll develop using which you can see the data from any database table. Okay, and if you want to do it statically, then you have to know the table name, then you have to build your structure by referring to that table, and then you have to write a select and get the data from that particular table into your structure or internal table, right? So you need to know a lot of things statically to handle this in a static way. But by using these data references, I can make the complete process dynamic. So I don't need to know anything statically. I'll write my code in such a way that whatever table name you give me, I'll pull data from that table and display it to you. Okay, so let's see how to do that. I'll create a couple of selection screen fields. Let's say p_table type string. So you can input any table name here, and let's limit. So I'll also give an option where the user can input how many rows he wants to see, something like in S11. If you open a table in S11, so most of these applications are dynamic, because whatever name you give, based on that it will display that specific information. So here maximum number of hits, I can provide the number of hits, so it will restrict the selection to that many hits. So I'll also do the same thing in my program. So let's say type I. Then I'll define this anonymous data object by using this syntax data, let's say r_table type reference to data. So if you say type reference to data, That means it will be a data object, but you don't know what type of data object. That will be determining at the runtime. If you already know what type of data object, then you can directly specify that type. So it could be type MAKT or type VBRK table, or it could be a local structure, anything. But since we don't know which table name the user will input, I will determine the type in the runtime. So for that, we use this syntax type reference to data. That means I'm telling the system, this is going to be a data object, but I don't know which type of data object. We'll determine that at the runtime. This is how you define an anonymous data object. You said reference data, type reference to data. Now, to access a known data reference, that is something you are statically typing, we use this dereference selector. For example, I was using this hyphen greater than and star to directly access that. But when you are dealing with anonymous data objects, you cannot directly access that using this dereference selector. You have to assign it to a field symbol. So that's another thing you need to keep in mind. So what we'll do is we'll define one field symbol. Let's say field symbols fs underscore table type any table. This is going to be a type. This is something you need to know statically at the design time, whether you'll be dealing with a table or a structure or a field. If you're dealing with a single field or a structure, you say type any. But if you're dealing with an internal table, then you have to say type any table. So it could be any table. Now, I will instantiate this data reference by using this create data statement. Like when you create a reference object, we use this create object statement to instantiate it. Similarly, to instantiate a data reference, we use this create data statement. So I'll say create data r underscore table type table of, and in brackets I can provide the type. So whatever table name the user will input on the selection screen, I'll make it of that type. Okay. So this way I am able to dynamically determine what is the type of my data object. Now r underscore table at the design time, initially it is nothing, but with this create data statement, I am instantiating it and making it an internal table of this type, whatever name the user will provide in this. So if, for example, if he enters VBRK as the table name, then it will be of an internal table of type VBRK. If he enters MAKT as the table name, then it will be an internal table of type MARK. Okay, so you do this, you instantiate it this way. Now I can assign this, I can dereference it basically by using this, assigning it to a field symbol. So I'll say assign r underscore table to my fs table. Now once this is assigned, this fs table will be an internal table of type VBRK. Okay, with field symbols you can only say it will be an internal table. Statically you can either type it by saying type VBRK, or you can say type any table so that it becomes any table, but you cannot determine it dynamically with field symbols. Whereas with data references, we can determine the type dynamically. So when I assign that to a field symbol, then this field symbol will be of this type. Okay. Now after this, now I have a data object in my program which is of type whatever the user inputs. I have one internal table of this type. I'll simply write my select query saying that select star from this table p underscore table, whatever table the user inputs, into table my fs table which is also of the same type, up to p underscore rows. So this variation of select statement up to n rows will restrict the selection to that many rows. If you don't have this restriction, then it will try to pull all data from the database table, so which could be pretty huge. So that's why we try to restrict it to certain number of rows. And then this select should get me all the records from this particular table, whatever the user entered on the selection screen, for these many rows. All I need to do now is display it in the output. So for that, let's use this ALV object model. So I can say data ALV type reference to CL SALV underscore table. Then I'll call this factory method. Factory. To this, we are not going to export anything. We will import the ALV object. So I'll say ALV, and then I'll pass this FS table. We'll enable this, and then once I have that, all I have to do is ALV, call the display method. That's it. By just writing this 29 lines of code, you can see. Let's also make our selection screen pretty. Limit table name. So if I execute, let's say I'll give VB RK as the table and I'll limit it to 10 records. Execute. So it will pull all the data, the first 10 records from this VBRK table. So you have all the data. And if I enter MAKT, then it pulls all the records from MAKT, the first 10 records. If I give MARA, it pulls all the data from MARA table, first 10 records, right? So using this data references, you can see I could dynamically determine my type, what type of data object this should be, and then I've handled everything dynamically. So whatever table name you pass to this program, it will pull the data from that table and display it in the output. Now if you want to access the fields of this table dynamically, because statically we don't know which type of table, so I cannot say FS table hyphen matnar is this or spras is this, right? We don't know all that. So I want to access the fields also manually. Then we can, instead of showing this using the ALV, let's say I'll create one more field symbol for work area. FS underscore work area, and this will be for structures and fields. You can say type any. Only for internal tables you can say type any table. So I'll say type any, and then I can say if FS table is assigned. Similarly, like we are checking if the field symbol is assigned by using this is assigned statement. Similarly, if you want to check if a data reference is bound, before using that in your statement, you can use this syntax if your data reference name is bound. If you say is bound, then that condition will be satisfied only if this data reference is bound. Okay. So I can say loop at FS table assigning FS work area. So it will assign the first row of this table to this work area. Now both are dynamic, they don't know what type. So I cannot say FS work area matnar here because the user can give a table as VBRK and that doesn't have any matnar field, right? So we don't know statically what fields this structure will have. So what I can do is I can do this do statement, and I can write this syntax assign. I'll also define one more field symbol for a field symbols field, type any, and I'll say assign component. In the previous example, we've seen that we are passing the name of the field to assign that component. You can also pass the number of the field. For example, if I say assign component 1 of this structure, it will assign the first field of that structure. If I pass assign component 10 of this structure, then it will assign the 10th field of that structure. So psi index between this do and do loop, this psi index field will have the loop number. So in the first loop, it will assign the first field of this structure. In the second loop, it will assign the second field of that structure. So I can say assign component psi index of structure fs underscore work area to my fs underscore field. So as you can see, using this data reference as field symbols, we are able to make everything dynamic. So the first field of this structure, whatever structure it is, it could be VBRK, VBRP, MARA, any structure, the first field of the structure will be assigned to this field. Then here I can say check if fs field is not assigned. That means what I'm trying to do here is, in this do and loop, this is endless loop. It will go between do and do. In the first loop, it will assign the first field. Let's assume this structure is having 10 fields. So in the first loop, the first field of this structure will be assigned to the field. So this statement will not be satisfied because this fs field will be assigned. In the second loop, it will assign the second field of this structure to fs field. Again, this condition will not be satisfied. However, in the 11th loop, this structure has only 10 fields, and in the 11th loop, I'm telling the system assign the 11th field of this structure to this field symbol, fs field. Then that condition will not be satisfied. So nothing will be assigned, and this condition will be satisfied. That means we have reached the end of the structure. There are no more fields. I'll exit the loop by saying exit. Else, I'll say, let's say write fs field. Okay. However, if I'm checking for E is assigned, you can also check for psi sub rc. If I'm checking for psi sub rc, then psi sub rc will fail and you'll exit. But if you're checking E is not assigned, then once the particular field is assigned, it will remain assigned till you unassign it, right? So in the 10th loop, for example, this field will be assigned, and in the 11th loop, nothing will be assigned to it, but this fs field was already assigned in the previous loop, right? So what we have to do is to ensure that this condition is only checking for the current field, I can unassign fs field. So I'm trying to initialize this field first and then assigning it. After that, if the field is assigned, then this condition will not be satisfied. Otherwise, if the field is not assigned, then this condition will be satisfied. So field symbols, you can assign them using the assign statement, and it will remain assigned till you unassign it manually. Okay. Either I can do it this way, or if you don't want to go through all that headache, you can simply write if psi sub rc is not initial. Instead of saying if fs field is not assigned, you can say if psi sub rc is not initial, then exit. Else, write it in the output. And let me, each row I want to write it in a new line. So let me print a new line here. So for each loop, we are initiating a new line, and then we are printing all the fields of the structure. Then it will quit the end do and then go to the next loop, and again next loop, it will start a new line and print all the things. So instead of using this ALV, if you actually see this ALV also, whatever table name you are passing, they will dynamically determine the components by writing the code this way. However, since I'm using write statements, obviously the output won't be pretty, but this will do the job. Now if I execute this and give, let's say MAKT, and let's say 20, here you can see it's printing the first row, second row, third row, outro. So I even access the individual fields of that structure dynamically without even knowing what is the structure name, right? By using these field symbols. So a combination of these field symbols and data references will help you to dynamically determine the data types and accordingly build your logic. So now you can see this program is completely dynamic. We are not statically checking for any table name or structure name or field name. We really don't know any of that, but still whatever table name the user is throwing at us, we are trying to determine the type dynamically and then getting the data dynamically and then accessing the fields of that structure dynamically and printing that in the output. Okay, so this is your data references. As I said, if you already know the type statically, using data references doesn't make much sense, but using these anonymous data objects where you are defining a data reference using this type reference to data syntax, you are able to dynamically determine the data type by using this create data statement. Okay, so practice this, try to create the same program and you will be comfortable. But as a beginner, you may not come across situations where you have to handle these dynamic logics, but just for the sake of completeness, I want you to be aware of these things, and as you keep working on programs, you'll be able to find them more interesting. So, and it's not complicated at all, right, if you understand. So whenever you get a requirement and if you want to determine something dynamically, then instead of writing this if else conditions and checking for every combination, you can use these field symbols and data references. However, we are able to determine the data type dynamically, but I really don't know what is that type. So there is another way where you can determine the data type also dynamically. Like I can determine that this is a VBRK table. For example, right now I'm not printing any column headings because I really don't know the field name or the data type name to print the column headings, right? So by using something called runtime type information, we can also determine the type. So I can determine that the user has passed the table MAKT and this table has these fields and these are the data elements to which those fields are attached, and once I know the data element name, I can determine what is the short length maintained for that data type, and I can use that to print the column headings also dynamically. Okay, so I can determine this data types also dynamically by using this RTTI, which we'll be discussing in the next session. So for now, just enjoy writing this dynamic coding. So this is more advanced level, but this is not complicated. If you really sit down and practice, and if you just create one program, you should be feeling comfortable. Okay, create this program as an assignment or exercise, and you should be comfortable enough. So see you in the next video.